Set of algorithms that we are going to talk upon is the k nearest neighbor, and also along with that, the support vector machines. Now, these are algorithms which are suitable for working on lesser amount of data because of several computational reasons. I'll discuss upon more of them, but let me firstly highlight this point that they are more suitable when we are working upon lesser amount of data. They are usually not preferred to implement on the larger amount of data. We'll firstly discuss on k nearest neighbor, and then we'll move on towards the concept of support vector machines. K nearest neighbor is definitely a kind of algorithm that falls under the um machine learning, supervised machine learning, where we'll again be working upon the label data, which means that we will be given the x as well as the y variable. And in case of the k nearest neighbor, the y could be again either continuous or categorical. So basically, I am trying to highlight the point that it can be used for both the regression as well as classification problems. And k nearest neighbor can be suitable for binary as well as multi-class classification problems. And another important point to highlight is that it can handle the noisy data really very well. So where logistic regression kind of algorithms are more suitable where there is clearly separable kind of data, where the classes are clearly separable. The k nearest neighbor usually will outperform logistic regression kind of algorithms when you are working upon noisy or overlapping kind of data. And it is ideally based on a very simple um, scenario where it follows a human tendency. So suppose for example, if I am new to a locality, and let's say that I want to admit my child to a particular school. I don't know much about the locality because I'm new to that, and that's where I'll go to my neighbors, right? Asking them, where does your child go to? So let's say if I'm reaching out to my five nearest neighbors. Uh, Here you can see the k is 5, right? So I'll reach out to my five nearest neighbors and I'll inquire about which school does their child go to. And based on the answers that I get from those five neighbors, I'll see that let's say for example, three of the children are going to school A and the remaining two are going to the school B. It's a clear indication that majority of the children are going to school A. Probably that's a better school, and then I should admit my child also to the same school. So this is what exactly the k nearest neighbor algorithm will also do for you. You have to define a value for k in order to help the model understand how many nearest neighbors should it reach out to while generating the predicted value for your testing data point. So wherever your testing data point falls, based on that, it will reach out to the nearest neighboring k data points, and based on the values which they have for their classes, we will be able to take a majority vote, and we will be able to decide what should be the predicted value for this test data point. That's what k nearest neighbor does for you. And it's a simple non-parametric kind of method, so it does not rely on any kind of assumption checks as such. So it's a very easy to use kind of a model. And let me tell you that this algorithm is also known as the lazy algorithm. Why is that so? Because ideally when you're passing the data to the model during the training phase, the k nearest neighbor algorithm does nothing really. It just loads the data into the memory table and it waits till the time some testing data point arrives. Only when some test data point comes in, it tries to decide which are the nearest neighbors, and then takes the majority vote and does the prediction for that testing data. So all of the task that is performed is ideally in the testing phase, and nothing really happens in the training phase. That's the reason this is a lazy algorithm. So it does not take time in building the model, given the fact that it doesn't do anything in the training part. But Yes, the testing part could take some time depending upon, how many observations we are passing in order to test. So it is an algorithm that is suitable for lesser amount of data because it is an algorithm which is suitable for lesser amount of data, and also suitable where there is very less amount of data required for the testing part, right? Because um, imagine if you have the lot of data present into it, and you are trying to work on predicting the values by finding out the nearest neighbor for each and every test data point. It will consume a lot of time, so it becomes a little slow when there is a lot of testing data introduced to the model. But a very easy to relate kind of an algorithm, and something that is based on the human tendency, so any person can relate to it very easily. And it can also be used to solve the regression related problems, although in case of regression also it is usually suitable for lesser amount of data, not many observations. But the kind of technique that it uses in case of regression is also a similar technique. You have to pass a value for the k, and based on the given value it will try to identify which are the nearest k neighbors for that particular point. Based on whatever is the y value for those data points, it will try to take the average of all of those data points y value, and that average value will become your predicted value. So that is how the predictions are done in case of the regression related problems where knn is implemented. So a simple pointer, if you want to remember, it could be that, in case of regression it will take the mean value of the neighbors y values, and in case of the classification kind of problem, it will go as per the mode value, which is nothing but the majority vote that it would take in order to make the decision. So this algorithm again is suitable for solving both the binary as well as multi-class classification. And as I said, it is suitable for noisy or overlapping kind of data. And as I said, it is a non-parametric method, so it does not rely on any assumptions as such. But another important thing that I would like to emphasize upon is it is going to spend some time identifying the nearest neighbors, right? So when it comes to identifying those nearest neighbors, it works upon certain similarity distance metrics like the Euclidean distance, the Hamming distance, or the Manhattan or the Minkowski distance. There are multiple distance metrics that can be used, and using those metrics you will be finding out which are the nearest neighbor or the data points to the point that has been passed for testing. And based on that, the k nearest neighbors are identified, and then the prediction is done. So this is one very important thing to remember with respect to the justification of the name. So as we discussed, k over here stands for the number of neighbors. Nearest is identified with the help of the distance metrics that we just spoke about, and using the neighbors we will be doing the predictions for the given test data. So this is what the k nearest neighbor algorithm is used for. And usually, as I have mentioned, it is suitable for data which is less in size in terms of the uh, rows, with usually up to 20,000 records, and we would implement knn. But as the size of data grows beyond that, we would avoid using the knn kind of an algorithm. Okay. Now, moving on towards the next thing, which is the support vector machine. This is also a kind of supervised machine learning algorithm only. So here also we will be working upon the label data where both x and y would be given to us. And here as well, we have y that could be continuous in nature, or it could be even categorical in nature. So this algorithm also can be used in order to solve both the kind of problems, be it the classification or the regression problems. but again, it is mostly used for classification kind of problems, you will see. And this again is only suitable where there is less amount of data that you will be working upon. It is not really useful where you have large amount of data, because this algorithm takes a high training time. So it's a slow algorithm, and spends a lot of time into training, because the math that goes behind support vector machine tells that, this algorithm will try to map our data into an n-dimensional space, where n is nothing but your number of independent variables that you have in the data. So suppose if you have 10 independent variables, it will try to map the data into a 10-dimensional space, and based on that it will try to fit a hyperplane into the data, such that it is able to classify your data points appropriately. So hyperplane is a ND concept. So just like in case of linear regression or logistic regression, we had a 2D best fit line equation that we would have got, right? The same way, in case of ND, we talk about hyperplanes. And this hyperplane will allow us to classify the data points, or, predict the continuous value in case of regression. And because it spends that large amount of time in order to map your data to that n-dimensional space, that's the reason the algorithm becomes a very slow algorithm, or as I said, it takes a high training time. But once that hyperplane is generated, doing predictions using that is almost similar to how we do it in case of logistic regression or in case of linear regression. So testing does not take time, but yes, the training definitely takes a long amount of time. So this again is used only when there is less amount of data, up to 20 to 30,000, not beyond that usually. And apart from that, what I would like to highlight is, the hyperplane that you're going to fit will be robust to outliers. So even if you have outlier kind of elements in your data, your model is not going to be affected because of those outliers, because it ignores those outliers and focuses on the rest of the data, and builds the model for you. And there are various other mathematical or statistical terms that come into the picture, like uh, the kernels that are used when we are working upon the support vector machine. You have various kernels like the RBF, you have the sigmoid, we have the polynomial kernel. So there are multiple kernels that can be used in order to ensure that the hyperplane fits your data more appropriately. But sigmoid is something that is used when you have a binary classification kind of a problem and the classes are clearly separable, whereas polynomial is the kernel that is used when you have non-linear kind of data. But radial basis function that we have, the RBF kernel, is suitable where you are working upon a mix of linear or non-linear. So basically, RBF is the default kernel that you will see present in the support vector machine, because it can handle both the linear as well as non-linear data. If the data is linear, it will try to fit a hyperplane directly into it. And if at all the data is non-linear, it will try to perform a kernel trick transformation in order to convert that non-linear data to a linear data and then fit the hyperplane into it. So those are certain kernels that you have, which you can fit in order to get you the best fit kind of a hyperplane. And apart from that, there are certain other hyperparameters that we use in order to get a good model when it comes to support vector machine, because many a times the default model does not work very well onto the data. So we try to modify the model a little bit with respect to fine tuning the model, and that is where we end up getting good results. So there are certain hyperparameters like gamma, the cost parameter, that can be used in order to penalize the model such that it starts performing better. So all of these things are something that go behind the math related to the support vector machine. But let me tell you that this is also an algorithm that can be used for binary as well as your multi-class classification problems. And we have both the versions, the support vector regressor as well as the support vector classifier, which can be used to solve different problems. So wherever your y is continuous, you can use a support vector regressor, and wherever your y is categorical in nature, you can make use of the support vector classifier. And having said that, support vector machine has again certain constraints with respect to the kind of data that you're passing to the model. So where we just spoke about k nearest neighbor, which is suitable for noisy or overlapping kind of data, support vector machine is suitable for clearly separable kind of data. So those datas where usually logistic regression is something that we prefer, similar kind of data is what is required for the support vector machine as well, because in case of the overlapping or noisy data, the hyperplane will not be fitted correctly, and the predictions that we might end up getting could be erroneous. So that is the reason why clearly separable data is what is required by the support vector machine algorithm. So so both KNN and SVM are classification as well as regression techniques. So you will see them falling under each of the category under the supervised machine learning algorithms. And both of them are suitable for lesser amount of data. But KNN, as I said, is suitable for noisy data, whereas SVM is an algorithm that is suitable for clearly separable data. So depending upon the kind of data that we are dealing with, if we apply both of these algorithms, you will see a difference in their results. So you can actually get an idea about the data based on the results that you see that are provided by these kind of algorithms. So these techniques, although are just suitable for lesser amount of data, they are very effectively used when you are working upon some sort of research, because usually in the research area we have to generate some data, right? And that's where the data usually is in a lesser quantity. In case of the real world problems that we saw, it could usually be big data that we would deal with. So of course there these algorithms will not give you good results, or even if you're implementing them, you'll see that your computational power that is required could be very high, because they do take their own sweet time to build the models and all, and to get you the results. So yes, these become less used in such kind of scenarios where we are dealing with the big data. But for research related works and all, you will often find people making use of such algorithms like the KNN or the support vector machine.